You're listening to KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas, the voice of the people, voted best radio station for music 2 years in a row by the Dallas Observer.
Did you know that KNON podcasts all of its local talk shows? KNON has local talk, each show covering your community in its own unique way. So if you missed one of our great morning talk shows, you can go back and listen to it online. We keep the shows for 2 months so you can hear everything you have been missing out on. Visit KNON.org for more information about the KNON Morning Talk Shows podcast. Also available on iTunes.
What a game! What a game!
Jim Schutze with Get Off My Lawn. Haven't talked to you all week. It's good to be back. This is the show that talks about what's really going on at City Hall, not what they tell you is going on. It's the KNON community radio version of Get Off My Lawn on the webpage of the Dallas Observer. And we have a good topic today and a good guest here to talk about it. We're going to talk about that golf course that they want to build down in southern Dallas. It's going to be at Loop 12 and I-45, right across the river from the old traditional community, usually known as Joppy, and across the river from a place where there used to be a golf course called Sleepy Hollow. This is going to be a private golf course, very high dollar. And when they discussed it last week at the city council, the council members asked how much it would cost to join this golf course, and one council member, Scott Griggs, said he feared that it could be as much as $150,000 that you'd have to pay to be a member. The city manager, Mary Soom, said no, that wasn't true. It was probably going to be a lot more than that. So we're talking about a golf course on public land. The city's going to give them the land and spend. The number floats around. Some people say $9 million, some people say $12 million to remediate the land. It's a toxic waste dump, and the city's on the hook to fix it. So they sometimes they say it'll cost $9 million, sometimes they say $12 million, but $3 million, give or take. Let's not be cheap about it. It's just tax money, and so we're going to spend something around $10 million to fix up this land, and then we're going to give it to this private golf course. And I don't have anything a huge axe to grind against the golf course. I'm stuck a little on why we would give away city land to a private golf course. The city's going to argue that, well, the land's not being used for anything else. I don't know about that. I have stuff at my house that I'm not using, but every day. But I don't want to give it away. But there we have it. The city wants to give this land to AT&T is the corporate sponsor. They're the people who want to build it, and the argument is that by creating this very exclusive, very high dollar private country club on southern Dallas land, that this will bring prosperity to the area around it. Now, my guest is snickering in the background, and this is a guy. I asked him to be here. I was delighted he could come because I can't think of anybody who would know better about economic development in southern Dallas. This is a gentleman who's been in business in southern Dallas all his life, and knows the streets and knows how things work and knows how business does and does not work where he is. This gentleman's name is Robert Petrie. He, as I say, is a longtime businessman in southern Dallas. He's more than just a businessman. He's a guy who's been very civically involved. He's the author and creator of something called Life Guide for America. And Robert, before we get into your business history, let's start with Life Guide for America. Could you tell listeners what Life Guide for America is, how you created it, and what you've been able to do with it?
Well, Life Guide for America is a teaching tool that deals with prevention and intervention. And Life Guide for America maps is all over America, which one is hanging in the White House and federal courtrooms, prisons, juvenile facilities, schools, psychiatrists' offices. And it's just a teaching tool that deals with life's choices. And it deals with, it's two sides. It's a green side, brown side.
It's a map.
It's a map. It's a map. And it deals with the streets. And the brown side kind of deals with what's happening in the inner cities of America. When I first created the map, I was dealing with the problems that exist in the inner cities of America. When I was looking at, so many single-parent homes and unemployment, jealousy, hate, prison road, liquor stores on every corner, HIV, promiscuous, rock bottom drive, and all these negative streets. And once I kind of formulated, what's happening all over America, then I said to myself, what is the solution? How do you get from a negative environment to a positive environment and get to a productive life? And that's when I created the green side that tells you what it takes to get to a productive life. And it's straight and narrow road, take you to sacrifice lane take you to spiritual road, spiritual to discipline to self-esteem to freedom the education way. Education way is the key where you gain knowledge. And when you graduate and come back to your community, the first intersection, recovery road, everyone is recovering from something. Mm-hmm. Then community drive take you to support lane where you have employment, corporation drive, entrepreneurship way takes you to Love Parkway take you to family way take you to Legacy Parkway where the streets are success, understanding, knowledge, principle, morals, character, wisdom, honorable, peaceful, productive life.
I see on the negative side, streets like Selfish Way, Envy Lane, Jealousy Lane, Hate Street. These are people's inner values, right? These are their inner core values.
Right. And these are some of the problems that affect the lives of so many people because, if you hating on people or people hating on you, that create an environment that dictates problems, negative problems.
Let me. I'd like you to, in a minute, explain your history as a businessman in Southern Dallas, but I want to jump back to a point briefly about the golf course deal. This week, I figured I need to know who lives around there, right. So I looked at the census tract data. And before we racialize all of this, let me say one of the things about that area, we think of Southern Dallas as minority for the most part. Interestingly enough, we're talking about Pleasant Grove in this area, and the census tracts in the area we're talking about are a little bit whiter than most of the city. Most of the city is about 50.2% white. That area down there is actually 57%. Right. So it's we're not talking about things that we can simply leap to and generalize about in racial and ethnic terms. However, here's what leapt out at me about that area. The census says that the national per capita income now, nationally, is $40,000 a year. I got an awful lot of friends who are probably wondering where their 40 is. But that's an average, and it's pulled way, way up by the people who make $200,000 or $1 million a year. Right. And we have a big class of those people, and so the average gets pulled way up. But the national average is $40,000 a year. In those 4 census tracts around where they want to build this golf course, the average is $11,000. That's 1/4 the national average. In the census tract right closest to the golf course, it's 9,000 and something. Unemployment is a little higher. We got the news this week that unemployment nationally is down in the 7% range. well, actually it's a lot higher. It's 11% in that area. That's almost 50% higher, but it's not the catastrophe you might think, except that there's a trick in measuring unemployment in that area. Unemployment, you only count as unemployed if you had a job, you lost it, and you're trying to get another job.
Right.
Then you're unemployed. But if you never had a job,
Right.
and you're not looking for a job because you have no hope of getting one, then you're called not in the labor force. And that would include, people in, actually you can be not in the labor force if you're in a nursing home. Maybe you had a job a long time ago, years ago, but you haven't had one in a long time, and so on. You can be not in the labor force if you're institutionalized. I looked at some census tracts up in Richardson, and the average not in the labor force percentage for people in the areas up north there is like 10% to 15% of the people in a typical census tract. In the census tracts around this golf course, it's 40%. 40% of the people in those census tracts never had a job or haven't had a job in years and years and aren't looking for a job. Because why, I don't know.
Well, it's an economic embargo against the inner cities of America, and especially Dallas, Texas. You know, when you have to create jobs and opportunity. When you have businesses that in southern Dallas and the black community can't go into a bank and borrow money when they should qualify like other businesses, when you are limited to the amount of development that come into a community. You know, you get on the interstate 45, 35, or 30. These people are leaving their community, going to other cities and other communities for employment.
Right. Well, let me ask you, let me go back to the business side of your history. How long have you been in business in Dallas?
I've been in business in Dallas about 41 years.
And what businesses have you been involved in?
I went in the car business. I had three $100 bills, and I bought a car for $272, and I had $28 operating capital, and I went in business. And still in business.
Right.
But you really your track record and the things that you've done when you African American, you can't go into these banks and borrow money. I mean,
Right.
and you could get you a good banker, and one day you go there and the banker leave, you have to go.
Well, now you own some land.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah, I bought my grandfather when I was a young boy, and sitting down talking to him, he was telling me that because he bought acreage, and he was telling me that God wasn't making no more land, and if instead of buying material values, buy you some land, and one day the land gonna have a value, and you could make some money one day. And he didn't tell me about all the conspiracies that you have to go through when you become a large landowner, and which I've experienced. But my business has been on Hardwood and Grand for 35 years. Nonstop.
The car business,
right? And from just when I was 12 years old, I set a goal, and one day I want to own a ranch. Didn't know what I was going to have to do to get it, but it was a goal that I set, and I was willing to work and sacrifice to get it. And now my family and I, we own Skyline Ranch. And it was a vision that I had from a young boy.
Where is Skyline Ranch?
Skyline Ranch is one block north 20 between Houston School Road and Lancaster Road. Now Houston School Road is named University Hills. They changed the name, so it's between University Hills and Lancaster Road.
But you're in the city.
Right, I'm in the city.
How big is? Can you give me a?
It's 90 acres.
Uh-huh.
90 acres.
And you've had a writing program there in the past for kids?
Oh, we've had thousands. I was telling my wife that I bet you I put 10,000 kids on a horse that never been on a horse before. But it was one of my goals that, when I was growing up, I just love horses and riding them, and whether they were tame or wild, I'd get on them and ride them.
Well, I don't want to get off on I want to stick on the golf course. I don't want to get off on the horse park thing,
Right.
but
we need to talk about that too, because this is the same area and they're doing the same thing.
I thought it was ironic when these nonprofits were brought in that they're going to give this horse park to.
Oh, yeah.
And they're good people. They're nice people. They're doing good work. They have these riding programs all out in the suburbs. but the impression that was given to the city council was, this is going to be brand new for Southern Dallas. Kids in Southern Dallas are going to see horses for the first time because these people are going to bring them in from the suburbs. And I thought about Robert Petrie, Skyline Ranch. You've been showing the horses for a long time, right?
Well, the city, we don't get counted, Jim, on what we do, and I think, that's why we just feel that all our blessings are going to come from God. Mm-hmm. And especially city of Dallas, we consider we black, and they're not going to give, my organization, me any opportunity. That's for rich. They give all these opportunities to rich white people, Jim,
Let me, I want to pause for a second to invite any listeners who are interested in this topic or want to ask me or Mr. Petrie a question to give us a call at 972-647-1893. That's KNON Community Radio at 972-647-1893. Give us a call and we'll be glad to talk to you. Back to the golf course. The Dallas Morning News is just absolutely foursquare, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead in favor of this thing. And they've had multiple editorials and columns and blog items saying that it's really wrong for people to be skeptical about this golf course, that this is a huge opportunity for Southern Dallas, and that it's they called it the tipping point. That this is the game changer, they said. That the way they portrayed it was that the people with money to invest are afraid to go to Southern Dallas, or they've never gone to Southern Dallas, or they don't know Southern Dallas is there. It's kind of like before Columbus, people thought the world just fell off at a certain point. If you went down there, your ship would just fall into outer space. And so the news is saying that these poor people in North Dallas who've got all the money have been afraid to drive down across the river or across 30 because they were afraid their ships would fall off the end of the earth or something. Right. But if they have this golf course, which is something that they can understand, very exclusive, fancy golf course, costs $200,000 to join. They'll go down there and play golf, and they will discover that Southern Dallas exists, and that'll be the turnaround for Southern Dallas.
So they're going to feel sorry for the people, or they're going to be able to see what's happening from them going up and down the freeways to their private golf course.
And they say that they're going to invest. That from going on the freeway from North Dallas to take your golf clubs down to Southern Dallas, right, that they'll look out the car windows and they'll say, well, we need to be pouring our money into this area.
So the taxpayers should sponsor this deal.
Because it's going to be the turnaround.
Right.
Going to be the turnaround. We're coming up on our first break, not quite yet, but soon. But in the second segment of the thing, I'm really, because you know business in Southern Dallas, you've dealt with the city, you've dealt with these tough social issues in Southern Dallas. I want to hear what you think about this theory that creating this golf course will be a turnaround for Southern Dallas. This is Jim Schutze with Get Off My Lawn. Robert Petrie's my guest. We'll be back in a minute.
If it's time to get rid of your old gas guzzler, the KNON Vehicle Donation Program can help. There is still a market for those old vehicles, and if you donate it, you are helping to support the quality programming here on KNON. Just call 877-KNON-AUTO or go online to knon.org. We'll take care of everything from pickup to tax paperwork. That's 877-KNON-AUTO.
Don't be a Scrooge. Give the blues to the music lover on your list.
KNON has the perfect CD or LP for you. Texas Blues Radio, Volume 5.
Texas Blues Radio, Volume 5 features acoustic blues, instrumental blues, party songs, somebody done somebody wrong songs.
Baby Got a Good Thing songs, six-pack and devilback songs.
Gumbo, jive, T-bone, and hip-shaking songs from a fine selection of great Texas blues artists.
So do right by the blues and give some Texas blues this year.
Texas Blues Radio, Volume 5 CD is available at KNON.org, Forever Young Records in Grand Prairie, Record Town in Fort Worth, and in Dallas at Bill's Records and Rewind Music.
Download a copy at cdbaby.com.
The LP is only available at Forever Young Records.
All proceeds are a gift to KNON.
This Sunday at Poor David's Pub, it's the Blues Diva Showcase. Gilda here from the Wednesday Morning Blues Crew with your personal invitation to a big KNON event this Sunday, December 9th at Poor David's Pub. Don't miss my band, the Gilda Medina Band, and don't miss all of the amazing blues women this Sunday with Miss Marcy and her Texas Sugar Daddies, Blue Lisa, and the Big D Playboys, Andrea Dawson, Brittany Yates, Javelin, Lady Lotion, and Sugar Mama. Short Stack from the Blue Mondays will be your hostess this Sunday. We have free dinner from the legendary Henderson's Chicken. This Sunday, it's a party for your ears and a party for your belly. This Sunday is an early show with doors at 5 p.m. and music at 5:30, ending at 9 p.m. Tickets are at KNON.org, Henderson's Chicken outlets in Dallas, Fair Park, and Lancaster, Bill's Records, and Forever Young Records in Grand Prairie. Poor David's Pub is located at 1313 South Lamar in Dallas. The Big Blues Divas Showcase this Sunday, 5 p.m. at Poor David's Pub. This is a KNON benefit event.
Jim Schutze, back with Get Off My Lawn on KNON. Give us a call at 972-647-1893. We've got a caller waiting, and I don't want to make him wait too long. But Robert, before we go to this call, would you give me a thumbnail sketch, your honest appraisal of what you think the economic what's going to happen business-wise in that area around the golf course when they get that thing up and running?
Well, I think it's land that the city owns, and what they're trying to do right now is just cut it up and make sure that rich people have possession of the large acreage in the city of Dallas. And the way they cut it up is set up nonprofits, like this golf course. I mean, so we're going to give up as taxpayers 400 acres of land and money. Mm-hmm. Where you get deals like that from? I mean, if somebody would give me some land and some money, I had to buy mine. Yeah. And I mean, you can't go to banks and borrow money. So, it's but when you call it economic development, that's what gets me. I mean, hey, and then in the bad part about it, black folks is going for it.
Well, the council members are.
Yeah. Well, anytime you could tag any kind of anything with SMU on it, to Neil Atkins is in favor of it. And I think that's the way they trap him and say, well, okay, now SMU golf team could come out here and play. SMU equestrian riders could come out and ride, at the equestrian center. So
City Council member Neil Atkins is an SMU grad, and
right,
was a big deal there.
Right, and like he said, around UNT, he want to make that area like SMU, and that's where his legacy gonna be made. And but we got to realize, and it's time for black people to realize, and then rich. If you're not rich in the city of Dallas, you need to be thinking too. But the conspiracy is easy when you say, well, hey, we're going to bring some economic development to the black community. That's when the major conspiracy come about. Because, I mean, how many people right now that's leaving southern Dallas, that's going to other parts of the city and other cities, going to exit off that freeway and go to that golf course for employment?
Right. Well, I don't want to keep Andrew waiting too much longer, but I want to come back to an idea after we talk to Andrew. I want to ask you, because you have so much business experience and community experience in that area. If I gave you 400 acres of land, Mr. Petrie, and $10 million, I'm interested in what you could get going down there.
I could change the city.
I know if they gave me $10 million, I would probably change my name and move to another country at midnight, but that's my problem. Let me talk to Andrew on line 3. Andrew, are you still waiting for us?
Yes, sir, I am.
Andrew, go ahead.
My dad was raised on Humphrey Street over there in South Dallas, and I'm Anglo. And South Dallas has always got a bad rap. This is kind of... I spent, when I was really young, a lot of time, as I said, on Humphrey Street, which is behind the Shep's Dairy there.
Right.
I have a lot of trouble speaking publicly, but anyway,
okay.
It's always been this way, and I wished it would change.
Right.
They will build like a compound down there, and they'll be safe inside their little bubble.
Right.
But the rest of South Dallas can go to Hades.
Yeah. Right.
As far as they're concerned. I mean, I know a man that just bought 5 acres down there with a church building on it for $15,000.
Wow.
I mean, the land values. I wished I had money. I'd buy a big old part of it and just build me a nice little house down there. And
well, Andrew, you raise when you talk about a bubble, that's an interesting point, which is how porous is this thing going to be in terms of the community?
I don't think it'll be porous at all. I think it'll be like if you were having an embassy in Lebanon or something.
They had Dale Hansen was being funny about it the other night. They were talking about a golf club that costs $200,000 to join, and the city has said that there would be some opportunity for the public to play on this course. And Hansen, I'm talking about the Channel 8 famous sportscaster, apparently he belongs to a golf club that costs this kind of money, and he laughed and said, yeah, if I pay that kind of money, I don't want the public out there on the tees with me. That's not how that kind of club works. Listen,
I've got one more point.
Okay, all right.
They're trying to make the scrap yards that are on Lamar put up barriers to where you can't see the scrap yard or whatever.
Right.
And, those are the people that employ people in South Dallas. So I'm supposed to hide the fact that I'm in a business and I'm recycling.
Well, Andrew, that's an excellent point, that they're trying to run off people who employ people.
But they buying all the stolen copper and stuff.
Well, okay. I think that they're pretty careful. Let me jump to Richard here on line 4. He's
okay, y'all have a nice day.
Okay, thank you. Richard, are you still there? Richard. I think we lost Richard. I think we have Jack on line 1. Go back to Richard. Richard, are you there? Richard on line 4. Let me try. I think we have another Andrew on line 2.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
First-time caller, first-time listener. Really enjoying the show. I had a couple of comments. I'll be quick, and then I'll take and then I'll get off the air. I live in Denton, but I've just been seeing DFW grow, and this gentrification is happening everywhere.
Right.
I have family that lives in Arlington, and I kind of saw the same thing happen with the Cowboy Stadium that your guest is kind of going through there in South Dallas. The taxpayers were promised all kinds of things that this big ballpark was going to bring to Arlington. All it did was bring a few Walmarts around this kind of ugly stadium. I mean, that's my personal opinion, but it's just kind of this ominous big Jerry Jones thing.
Yeah.
And then there's like a few Walmarts around there now. A few of the apartment complexes that were there before, they were kind of like high crime apartments. Those are gone. So I suppose that's supposed to be what is been a benefit to the community or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, they don't really bring any local jobs. They bring in corporate investment. As far that's the thing that's going on in South Dallas, though, where you have such a community that has built its own culture, that has been its kind of own thriving, insulated thing, like your guest has been saying. They've built that off their own work, off their own back. The city of Dallas hasn't really been giving them much, and now all of a sudden they want to build this huge golf course, which is only going to profit the people from North Dallas and all the other area. I seriously doubt that many people from the local community there in South Dallas are going to be able to work at the golf course, or whatever it is.
Sure. How many caddies can you hire? And how good is the caddy job? The people in those 4 census tracts who are called not in the workforce. That's 5,000 people total. I don't think they're going to hire 5,000 caddies. Andrew,
Right.
thank you very much for calling. We got 2 other callers hanging. Before we go to them, Robert, if you're experienced in this part of the city, if somebody said, "Okay, Petrie, we got 400 acres and we got $10 million, we're giving it to you," what would you do with it?
Well, first, I'd spend $8 million around UNT, where the landowners don't have basic infrastructure. And it costs, when we were trying to tell the city to invest $8 million in just basic infrastructure, where we could create jobs and opportunity where businesses could come in and locate and development could come about around UNT. But what the city done, when they widened Houston School Road, all they had to do was put a sewer line in, and then the gravity flow everything would just drop right down to a unused 19-inch sewer line. And the city decided that it was better for them not to put the sewer in because they could control what go on the land that's in front of UNT, which is owned by blacks.
Well, now let me, because that may be a hard point for some people to get. They're tearing up the street.
Right. 6 lanes.
Anyway, they're doing it anyway.
Right.
So you'd think now's the time to put the new sewer line in.
Right.
Why? Tell me again why they didn't put the sewer
because
line.
If they had water and gas, and if you'd put sewer in, they'd have had everything they needed to develop their land.
All of a sudden, the people who held that land, who include you,
right,
would be going and blowing. You could develop that land. You'd have the stuff.
Create jobs and opportunities.
So why didn't the city want that to happen?
Because the city wants to. Right now, they're trying to keep the land values down where they could come in and buy everybody out. See, it was a lot of misconceptions in that bond election. They put $20 million in the bond election for land acquisition that can be used to buy everybody out around UNT.
So this is a plan by which, maybe that land will be developed someday, but not by anybody who owns it now.
Right.
Let me jump. I don't want to keep these guys waiting too much longer. We got Jack on line 1. Jack, are you still there? Maybe not. Is Jack still there? No. How about Richard on line 3? Are you?
Yes,
Richard, how are you?
How you doing?
Good.
I'd like to talk to Mr. Petrie. You know, for years I looked at that little chart he drew up.
Yeah.
Talking about how certain things that will react to one thing or another. And the main thing I look at is in South Dallas High. Now, I grew up in South Dallas all my life. Mm-hmm. And the first thing I knew that back in the early 80s, there was an influx of drugs and alcohol, like you say, in these neighborhoods. And the people that own these neighborhoods down there, they couldn't exist because these crimes and all this stuff came in and it killed off the growth. Mm-hmm. And the neighborhoods couldn't grow. And so what happened was that the apartments, they got dilapidated, the tenants moved out, and the landowners just put the property up for sale.
Who
you look at now, it look like
I'm missing one point. Who was doing the crime?
Well, I don't know. You say people that came out of nowhere. We had some some Jamaican people that came in. Now these are back in the 80s now.
So the crime came from outside.
Outside source.
Drugs came from outside.
Yeah.
But what about the
plan? Like you say, they draw up things 20 years in advance. Mm-hmm. Just like you're saying about that stuff around North Texas. You know, they knew about what's going to happen when they
Let me ask you a question. I don't know if you're old enough. Do you have any knowledge of the Thomas Hall area?
Yeah, I know about that too.
Right.
Yeah,
see, because the Thomas and Hall area was the black community in North Dallas.
Old black. Yeah, right. That's where I was born. My mother's father lived over there.
Right. And they didn't loan money to businesses. They didn't loan money for development. They dropped heroin in there at that time.
Yeah,
and it just destroyed that whole community. And then gentrification came about. Now that land is the most valuable land in the city of Dallas.
Yeah.
See, and this is happening all over America. See, they've dropped that crack cocaine now in the inner cities of America. It's destroyed so many lives. But now my problem with it, and I can't just blame the people that import drugs into our country and into America, but we as blacks, we're the ones that's distributing it, the drugs, to each other. And that's where I have a problem with.
Let me, and I want to thank our caller very much. We've got another caller on 4 that I want to jump to. Porter, are you there?
Yes, sir. Hi, guys. How y'all doing this morning?
Good. How are you?
Hey, I just wanted to just opine about the designation, what they call South Dallas. I'm a local guy, born and raised here, and man, even I get confused when they in the media and on the radio, even you guys show talking about South and Southern Dallas.
It's misused because Robert, there is a traditional. There's Wheatley Place,
Fair Park.
There's
South
a traditional
Dallas.
South Dallas, but describe where that is.
That's South Dallas, Fair Park area, Bear Street, to the Trinity River Bridge, and everything south was always considered Oak Cliff, or Southern Dallas.
It seems like every time there's a crime or there's a need, a financial need or something, then they can lump the whole Southern Dallas area together.
Oh, well, that's part of the conspiracy. See, they know how to conspire.
Brother, I think that word conspiracy is a little bit overused in this conversation we're having today, too.
Now, that's your opinion. Whoever.
Well, I'm just saying, it doesn't sound like it's a conspiracy. It just sounds like it's just a misappropriation of funds and what's going on.
Robert,
Dallas,
let me ask Robert. Robert, let me ask you something. Tell me about the nice areas, the more affluent areas in the southern hemisphere of the city that never get talked about, that get lumped in.
You're talking about in Dallas?
I think we got to get off this phone line. We got some kind of, I'm sorry, we got noise going on. I think somebody's taking a bath.
Okay.
But when we talk about southern Dallas, there are a lot of nice areas.
Nice homes in southern Dallas. In Oak Cliff area, the Redbird area, very nice homes.
Right.
But when you look at southern Dallas, and you go back in history, at one time, the Oak Cliff was occupied by Anglos, 100% Anglos.
Yeah.
And, they paid for their homes, and then they sold them to African Americans for double the price, and they went to another part of the city and bought a new home and raised their family again, and then we ended up with these homes, but the value of them still increased. A lot of the homes in Oak Cliff, and real nice homes.
Let me, we've got WC on line 1. WC, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
And am I calling you by the right name?
Yes, sir.
What's on your mind this morning?
Well, I have to just make kind of a general comment here that, it seems like all of, from all the different shows on Saturday here, they're all really more or less talking about the same thing, and it's that the people with the power, the money, and influence are doing anything that they can to retain that power, money, and influence at the expense of anybody else that would get in their way in any way, shape, or form that would decrease that.
And that's predictable.
That sounds very true.
Yeah, and it's this us against them attitude that so many people have that, well, we don't want them to be a neighbor, and it could be black, it could be Mexican, it could be Asian, but it's the us against them attitude that somehow there's a certain part of the middle class that they have bought into that somehow they can spend their way into prosperity and be part of that club, and it's a fundamental lie that is I think in the process of unraveling in this country. But it's just so disheartening to see to the degree to which
it seems like it's gotten more extreme. We got to go to a break. I appreciate your calling very much. We're going to be back for our final segment in just a minute. Jim Schutze, get off my lawn.
211 Texas, a program of the Texas Health and Human Services Commission, is committed to helping Texas citizens connect with the services they need, whether by phone or internet. Our goal is to present accurate, well-organized, and easy-to-find information from over 60,000 state and local health and human services programs. We have programs ranging from child care to GED instruction, from dental care to food pantries to public utility services. Contact 211 at 211texas.org or dial 211 to connect with the resources you need. If dialing 211 directly doesn't work on your telephone, you can call 877-541-7905 for 211 Texas. Don't let your family go without the help they need.
Join the KNON Community Advisory Board. It is a great opportunity to offer your voice to the voice of the people. KNON's Community Advisory Board provides advice to KNON's Board of Directors about KNON programming decisions, community service, and policies. The role of the Community Advisory Board is solely advisory. This board meets 4 times a year on the second Tuesday of January, April, July, and October. The next meeting is January 8th, 2013 at KNON. Meetings are open to the public. If you're interested, please go to KNON.org and scroll down through our events or call 214-237-3003 for more information. Deadline for applications is Monday, December 17th.
Howdy, y'all. This is Johnny Baker Jr. from Oak Cliff, Texas. The only type of Blue Monday I can stand is if Fats Domino is playing the piano. To fix this, start your week right. Listen to the Magic Time Warp Show with Ranger Rita, Action Annie, and Rockin' Robin. Soothe your Monday morning groove from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on KNON 89.3. We are the voice of the people.
Hey, babes, I'll take one.
Jim Schutze, back with Get Off My Lawn with my guest Robert Petrie. We've been talking about the proposed high-dollar private golf course, country club that the city wants to create in southern Dallas around Loop 12 and I-45 right across the river from Joppy. This would be a private golf course. They say it'll attract big PGA tournaments. I don't know a lot about golf. I don't have anything in particular against the golf course itself, but the way it's being sold is as an economic development engine for southern Dallas.
Right.
And Mr. Petrie, if you've been listening, has a 40-year history in business in southern Dallas. He also has a 40-year history of community involvement and kind of knows the ground that we're talking about. I asked him in the last segment if somebody gave him this land, 400 acres, free land, and said, we'll spend $10 million helping you develop it, what would you do? He suggested some other things he would do with the $10 million right away, putting infrastructure in along Houston School Road. He got pretty granular, pretty detailed about what he would do. I want to point out that that's what you would get from a guy who's been in business on the ground for 40 years in this part of the city. He knows the land. He probably knows every block. He knows where the opportunities are and where they're not. And my question, and I'm going to throw this back to you, Robert. I think we got some callers hanging again, but why, if your goal was to create economic development in southern Dallas, why would you do it by creating a golf course for a bunch of very wealthy people from North Dallas? Why wouldn't you go to people in the business community? And why, you touched on this before. It's Tennell Atkins, City Council Member Tennell Atkins loves this idea. Council Member Dwayne Caraway loves it. Council Member Von Steele Hill just absolutely loves it. I have respect for all of those people for their work on the council and their knowledge of the community. Why are they so sold on this notion of creating economic development in southern Dallas by building a golf course for rich white people from North Dallas?
Well, I think that, being on the council, you get the opportunity to meet a lot of rich white people and having the opportunity to go to their house, their homes, and, you're of interest to them because they need your vote.
Right.
So they're going to be nice to you. When you look at the city as a whole, when the city is interested, and if you look at all the things that the city has been doing in the past, it's all about rich people. And it's not just poor black people, it's poor white people, poor middle class people. If I ask your listening audience, how many of them has been to the park over the Woodall Rogers Freeway that cost $110 million? Is that a good investment? How many of you all have been on the Margaret Hunt Bridge that cost $186 million? Was that a good investment? Is this equestrian center with $14 million, the taxpayers' money that's going to be spent to build a equestrian center for SMU equestrian team to come out and practice, to go and get a nonprofit from New York to come here and run it and get them 30 years free rent? I mean, where are some of the benefits that will benefit southern Dallas?
It is a question in the end of what the city concentrates on. What are the city's major goals? What are the city's dreams? Do any of those dreams look like the dreams of regular folks, or don't they all look like the Margaret Hunt Hill Bridge?
Right. Well, the art district, they are more interested.
Right.
In the 2006 bond election, there was $40 million for another music hall.
All you needed to jump into development on Houston School Road was a sewer line.
Right, sewer and sewer.
And all of a sudden, all that land is turned around in terms of what you can do with it.
Right.
And yet, no sewer line.
No sewer line.
But we have this huge focus on the arts district and people will, they'll jump on you and say, what's wrong with arts? Right. If in case somebody's listening and thinks that Robert is imagining this stuff about council members being invited to people's homes and being flattered. Oh man, that is a story I have witnessed so many times, and I had one council member tell me about it. That I can't say who it was, but she was invited to a home early on in her career, and they said, "Oh, we just love your shoes. We think you're so cute."
Oh yeah.
And
they let you take a doggy bag home with you.
Yeah, and they said we really would like to start inviting you to some of our parties, but you don't seem to know how to act. And then they started going down the list of issues that she needed to change her mind on. This happened to be a council member who's got a pretty tough spine and didn't go for it. But it's that social pressure of being accepted.
Jim, back in the 90s, the Dallas Auto Auction is located, being a car dealer, located on Keith and Duncanville Road. They were located in Grand Prairie near the Yellow Belly drag strip. And every time it rained real hard, the cars would flood out, and Grand Prairie police was writing tickets to car dealers. And I went to the general managers and I said to him, you need to move this auction from Grand Prairie to Dallas.
The city manager?
No, the manager at the auction. Okay. And he says, where do you think it should be? And I told him, right up there on Loop 12 and Duncanville Road, it's hundreds of acres of land. It'd be perfect place for an auction and get out of Grand Prairie. So after we talked about it, he came back to me a couple of months later and he said, look, I went up and put a contract on 95 acres, but I have a problem. The city of Dallas don't want to auction. and we're going to bring from 5 to 750 jobs. So, and right then, I went to my council person and went to Leo Cheney was on the planning commission at the time, and it was not Al Liscombe's district, but we went to Al and talked to Al, and he was able to get Councilman Tandy involved, and we were able to get this auction in. Now, this auction brought $50 million a month to the Dallas economy. This same auction had 750 employees, and this auction is still functioning now and making money. You know, so if the city of Dallas, if the city of Dallas wanted to attract businesses, they could, but their interest is more the rich people, and that's what they always been about. You remember when Stark Taylor and Bob Fulsom was mayor, and Bob Fulsom gave the Turnpike Authority 40 acres down the center Bentry north of 635 where they could build a turnpike toll road because the Turnpike Authority could not buy the land, so he gave it to them. And then they went out and bought Renner, the large acreage in Renner, and they extended Renner to Dallas, and they ran the sewer and water lines, and you know, so their position is let's. You know, I mean, they fight for themselves.
Let me. I don't want to lose Jack again. Jack, we're going to try again. Are you back with us? Are you still there, Jack?
Oh yeah, right here. Hi,
Jack. What's up this morning?
Oh well, yeah, good hearing you because you're my contact with Dallas in general. I think I'm out here in Grand Prairie, by the way.
Oh.
But where else do you get the news that what's actually going on?
Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
Yeah, right. I kind of wonder where you guys were for a while there because they changed the schedule and all that on KNON in there. But well, as far as South Dallas and that, to get my bearing here, what's with this port of Dallas? Now that's supposed to bring jobs. Is that going to happen? And you still have part of the problem there in that they still don't like the water line you're talking about. You don't have the opportunity to be on the ground floor. They're going to come in and do what they want, right?
Yeah, the inland port is a huge example of something that we have to hope it's still happening. The Allen Company is out of bankruptcy, and I think they're doing well again. But the inland port promised 60,000 jobs, 60,000 jobs, and the city did nothing but throw roadblocks up in front of them and try to stop them at every juncture and make it more and more difficult for them to develop. And it was such an enormous. Robert, would you say that the inland port thing was probably the biggest?
That could have brought economic development to our area, and not just the city, the counties.
The whole area. We have to hope it still will. But it says so much about the mentality that that came out of the blue. The city did nothing to deserve or earn that or recruit it.
No.
It was simply the insight of one guy, Richard Allen in California, who
took his money and came here and bought 6,000 acres of land. I mean, this was
and got nothing but the back of the hand and yet we think that no, we don't need a huge industrial development. We need a golf course.
Yeah, right. He's not a team player.
No. It's amazing.
Well, you remember when NASCAR came and they blocked Bruden Smith? He wanted to put the NASCAR track in Dallas, and they blocked him and forced him to go to Fort Worth. But it was all about, they wanted him to joint venture with another entity that was part of the power structure.
Right.
And he refused to do that, and they sent him out of here.
That's the thing, and that's another theme that we'll come back to in later shows, is that Dallas runs in a lot of ways it's like a big Tyler. It's a good old boys setup.
Well, that's it. And could be like the mafia too. Gangsters want to do it too.
And so you come in with this huge opportunity, and they say, well, we don't want that opportunity because you're not one of us.
Right.
And so you get home fried. You get from everywhere from the county to the city to this council of governments thing. Everybody is suddenly set up against you because the word comes down, he's not one of ours.
Right, and I'm not one of them too, Jim. They don't. They don't like me.
Well, is the port off, or is that happening?
No. It's still happening.
Yeah.
Dallas happens to have a huge advantage that has to do with where we're situated in the continent, and that was Richard Allen's central insight. And I think that they're back up and running. And as the economy improves, we'll hope that it improves. But it sure has gone through a lot of struggle that it didn't need to.
Right, and we need those jobs. We need them in Southern Dallas.
No kidding. Yeah.
My grandfather said, if you don't work, you're going to steal or sell dope or depend on somebody else.
Or get into journalism.
Yeah.
That's but it comes from the turnaround. I'm looking back at Robert Petrie's Life Guide for America. The turnaround comes from things that give people a road where they can get back to work, get positive about life, start trying again, seek a better path for themselves and their families. And I'm just not confident that you get all of that from golf. Maybe I don't know enough about golf.
Right, with the $200 free to get in there, right?
200,000. Yeah.
Wow, who are those people?
But Dallas is about the rich. Dallas. The big South Fort and all that. It's about rich folks.
What comes across from the morning news editorials is that the people who join this club will be doing a huge service and favor to Southern Dallas by being there.
Oh yeah,
it's not that they're going to invest.
No,
and
accepting this 400 acres of land from the city of Dallas, and really you're talking about 800 acres of land when you put the equestrian center in it.
Right.
And the city of Dallas saying, hey, here we're gonna do this here for the rich. When do you do something for the poor and the needy? I remember when Jim and I won't say this here. I remember when they were doing the city put in there, I think it was 2002 bond election, an animal shelter for stray cats and dogs. They put $21 million before they even had an animal shelter for human beings. They invested in an animal shelter, $21 million for stray cats and dogs. I know people love their dogs and cats, but I mean, you don't put them before human beings.
Yeah, I got you there.
Yeah. Jack, thank you for calling. I see us running out of time here. Robert, I've really appreciated your coming in here and bringing your
Jim,
insight to this.
You got to get me back, Jim. I really enjoyed, I enjoy KNON. I mean, this is just the greatest
We had so many callers.
I
how would you feel about just taking the show?
No.
And I'll come and be your guest. We had a lot of good action, and I think it had a lot to do with your credibility on this question and your authenticity on it. We've enjoyed being here as always. Jim Schutze, Get Off My Lawn. We'll be back here next Saturday at 10 a.m. to discuss the same kind of stuff. See you then. Bye-bye for a week.
You're listening to KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas, the voice of the people, voted best radio station for music 2 years in a row by the Dallas Observer.
Did you know that KNON podcasts all of its local talk shows? KNON has local talk, each show covering your community in its own unique way. So if you missed one of our great morning talk shows, you can go back and listen to it online. We keep the shows for 2 months so you can hear everything you have been missing out on. Visit KNON.org for more information about the KNON Morning Talk Shows podcast, also available on iTunes.